Hey,
Hi,
Otep.
Ryan.
How's it going?
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Hey, I was watching one of your interviews that you did a couple years ago, and you were talking about how you prefer analog and vinyl over digital and digital recordings and MP3s. The whole digital world and Pro Tools, do you think that it plays a negative part as far as new music?
I think there's been a trend to thin out music, thin out tones. There's a dynamic issue where even quiet sounds are recorded at the same volume as loud sounds. I had this discussion with my manager, actually, who was just an amazing musician, amazing producer at one time, and we were talking about the digital side of music versus the analog side of music, and how a lot of people they use Pro Tools as an actual sort of modified instrument versus just a remarkable editing tool, which I think it is. But then people start using, instead of going through like a tube amp where everything sounds really nice and warm, and they try to use just a plug-in that simulates that sound. And what you get is it just becomes a copy of a copy of a copy. And I think we start to see, or at least I was able to hear how the richness, the warmthness, the organicness of music was fading rather quickly. And I think people are starting to get that now, and we're starting to see this sort of return to authentic musicianship, you know, and people are just are starting to use Pro Tools as, at least in rock and roll, it's an editing device, which is what I think it is. It's an amazing editing device.
Mm-hmm. I know you guys are working on some new stuff. Do you record it all on analog and then mix it down on Pro Tools, or tell me a little bit about the process?
On our last record, for example, I don't know what we're going to do on this record because we haven't really discussed it with the producer yet, but on the last record, we recorded everything. I believe we recorded everything just onto hard drives, and then we ran it back on tape and then back into the system. So, but it also has a lot to do with, I don't know if it necessarily depends on where it ends up. If it ends up on a hard drive or it ends up on tape, it's how it gets to its destination. That makes the difference. It's the type of console you use, the type of amps that you use, and that kind of thing.
I have a question. I know that you spoke at the Democratic National Convention last year. Can you tell me a little bit about how that went down?
Well, we were chosen I was chosen to come speak, to deliver a speech about it, and my purpose there was to speak on behalf of Rock the Vote with regards to getting disenfranchised voters, getting people who perhaps, or disenfranchised citizens, people who thought that they didn't matter, that they didn't have a voice, more involved, and how important it is for the disenfranchised, for people who feel like that they don't have a voice or don't have a place in this country to speak out and to make their own place, and to make sure that people listen to that voice, to their voices. So it was a remarkable experience for me. I truly enjoyed being part of that process. I'd never been a part of anything that big before or that important, personally or professionally, but it meant so much to me personally to be there on that historic occasion. I spoke the same night that Hillary Clinton spoke. It was a different time, but it was really just a great.
I know you're an Obama supporter. What's your take on the first 100 days of him in office?
I think he's doing a great job. I think most presidents have to deal with what he's had to deal with in the first 100 days in the entire 4 years or 8 years of the presidency. Some don't even have to deal with that at all, but he's dealing with 2 wars, an economic crisis, unemployment crisis, now a quote-unquote global pandemic with the swine flu, and yet at the same time he's advancing healthcare issues. He's reinforcing our infrastructure through all these types of building and roads projects. He's reinstating our place in the world as a beacon of light, as a place that stands for individual freedoms. And I know there's a lot of people out there that may have a gripe with America, but this is one of the few places where someone like me can actually speak out against my government, even though I love my country so much and I love being a citizen of this country. I can still speak out against the country without fear of reprisal, or official reprisal anyway, without a fear of being imprisoned or jailed. I'm a woman. I'm a lesbian. I'm tattooed. I'm an artist, and I've spoken out of emotion in the past when Bush was in office, and I've said some things that were pretty harsh, and I didn't go to prison for that. Although there was a time when I thought I might. Right around the time they were passing the Patriot Act, and then they were passing the follow-up to the Patriot Act, I got a little concerned, but I still wasn't going to stop because I believe it's my right as a citizen, natural born in this country, to take responsibility for what I believe is right, and to hold my leaders accountable for the things that they do in our name.
You said that you're afraid that you might go to prison. Can you elaborate a little bit more?
Well, I don't know if I didn't mean that I was actually afraid I was going to go to prison, but I was afraid that someone was going to try to stop me from speaking. I mean, we had issues leaving the country a few times. I did have someone show up at one of my shows. Very odd. It was very odd. He said that he worked for a senator. He's an older gentleman, and that he appreciated everything that I was doing, but that I should know that they know that I'm what I'm saying. And then he kind of just blended back into this was after when I was signing autographs, and he kind of just blended back into the crowd. So that was a little unnerving, but at the same time, maybe I took it wrong. Maybe he was actually there as a show of support.
That's a little weird. How long ago was that?
That was right around the time when, it was right after, I think, Kerry lost the election and Bush won again. Or I guess he won the first time. The first time he took office, he was selected, not elected. The second time, he was actually elected, I believe, but there's still the jury's still out on Ohio, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the things that saved us was how, with regards to, the Republican response, the people that knew about us, was incredibly negative. They would say things like, if you don't like it here, you got to get out of my country. And my response always to them was, well, if you don't like me speaking my mind and trying to be informed about my country, trying to be involved with my country and expressing my right to free speech, then you get out of my country. And you go someplace that doesn't allow for free speech. And you go for someplace that allows the government to spoon-feed them bullshit and tell them that it's chocolate pudding.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any concerns with mainstream media, specifically mainstream news?
I think they, if we look at what, at the time when Bush was selling the Iraq War to us, the media organizations, most of them didn't truly investigate, why we were going there. I think now they're a bit more skeptical, as most American citizens are, and rightfully so. We should be more skeptical. We should be. We shouldn't take everything for face value. I think the Obama administration is great about promoting that idea. I think that we've seen the backlash against the media being somewhat biased in during the Bush regime, because people stopped buying their newspapers. People stopped, they went to the bloggers. They went to the people that had an opinion, that were not just buying in to that whole circus. And so, it seems a little different now. They seem to be holding Obama to standards that they never held Bush to, but I think that's good. I think we should. I'm a huge Obama supporter, but, I've said this before, that America can never go back to sleep. We have to stay awake. We have to stay diligent. We have to stay informed and involved.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a little bit about All Shapes and Sizes?
The All Shapes and Sizes website is a social networking site that I created to help people, be in touch and, I guess, network, have a support system where we, tried to fight the archaic ideas of what is beautiful, what is masculine, what is feminine, and try to reinforce new ideas on self-esteem. Um, so that's what the site's about. It's about accepting the skin you're in and not, buying into what we're sort of spoon-fed every day in the media and in magazines, on TV and in movies. But it's also, to try not to be so judgmental against others and just to, to learn to love yourself first, because once you've done that, there's no stopping you. You can do anything. You love yourself, and you don't need. A lot of people stay in sort of damaged relationships because they feel that that's what they deserve. That they don't deserve anything better. They don't deserve anything more. But that's not true. If they love themselves first, they would see that there's no hole to fill. There's no vacancy there. They don't need someone just to have someone. If someone is mistreating you, and they don't care about you, it's and it's not necessarily about you. It's about them. They have something wrong with them. So all shapes and sizes is supposed to, and what I hope it does is reinforce positive ideas about self-esteem. Again, not to just let yourself go, but to to believe that you deserve to be the best you can be. Strong body, strong mind, strong spirit, and it seems to be working, and I'm very proud of it.
Definitely. What was your inspiration for the site?
After I wrote "Perfectly Flawed," a song on my third record, which is a song about that. It's about loving you for you. I was getting so many messages about it and how meaningful it was to people and how important it was to them in their lives and what it taught them about themselves, something they already always knew, but it just kind of uncovered for them. And that's what art does. Art does that for me to this day. I'll read a poem and it'll kind of say something that I've always known. I couldn't, it's always kind of been there, but I just couldn't formulate the idea completely. And that's what the song did. And so I wanted to build something separate from Otep, the MySpace and Otep.com, something that was sort of specific for this cause. And that's how it happened.
Have you gotten any emails from people from users that have had something life-changing because of the site?
Yeah, people email me all the time that they're so appreciative that they have some place like that. Because they don't have any positive people around them in their lives, whether it's their own choice or if it's just where they're living, whether if it's a small town or a big city or if their family members or loved ones or friends are just not as forgiving as say they need someone to be at that moment, or they're just afraid to be open to someone, like I'm hurting, and because maybe they're prideful or it's nobody's business, or they are ashamed or something. So this gives them the ability to go online, be anonymous in a way, and connect with other people who do understand. It's that this idea that a perfect stranger, but someone that understands everything.
You're an artist. You're an activist, so to speak. What are your goals for the future? What do you want to accomplish?
For the future? I hope I continue to grow as a writer, to grow as an artist, grow as a songwriter, grow as a storyteller, to be to be better and never take this opportunity for granted. And world domination would be nice.
What made you guys go to Victory?
Good question. I've always admired Victory Records. I've always, been impressed by the amount of marketing and support they seem to give their bands. Even when I was on a major label, I was always like, this indie label has a stronger machine than this amazing, alleged amazing major label has with its, I mean, amazing in the way that it's, it's got this incredible support structure through its parent company, EMI. But this was this tough label that just believed in music and believed in community and believed in the bands that they signed, and that's what I was always searching for with a label. And I once I got had a few conversations with the president, Tony Brummel, my manager, introduced us, and we had so many things in common about life and about our beliefs on and philosophies on art and music that it just seemed like a perfect fit. And I'm very hopeful for the future. I've not had great experiences with labels in the past, so I'm really hopeful that this one turns out as great as I expect it to be.
I was just going to ask you about major labels. With record sales declining, do you see more artists going to indie labels rather than being on majors?
Well, it depends on the artist. I think that most major labels are focusing on more pop acts now because pop acts sell. They have a fan base that doesn't pirate their music, and they still go out and buy records. So they're going to make that investment into pop acts, whereas a lot of the underground music, by its very nature, has its support systems online, and that breeds, piracy, which I'm not a fan of, never have been. I don't care how many fans I lose for it. I don't believe in pirating music. If I'm a painter, you can't just walk into my house and take the painting off my wall. If I build cars, you can't, just because you like my car and you really, really respect the workmanship that I put in, it doesn't mean that you can steal my car. There's a lot of work that goes into creating records, and for those of us who still believe in the underground, who still believes in the music that they write and still feels blessed about this opportunity that we have to create music, it's hurtful to have people go out and just steal your music this way. You may not think you're hurting Metallica or, Britney Spears or whoever, but you're hurting the mid-level artists because those bands aren't going to get the same tour support. They're not going to get the same marketing. They're not going to get the same record budgets because the label they don't see the return on their investment. And it's art versus commerce, man. It is what it is. If you don't want to be in the commerce game with your art, then don't go public with it. Don't get signed to a record label. Doesn't mean you have to sell your soul, but it also means you have to understand that, especially fans, that you're hurting the bands that seem to care the most about what you care about when you steal their music. You're taking food right off their table. You're taking their ability to continue to play this music. We've seen that happen. You can't make a social statement about this anymore. It's happening. It seems like people's consciousness is changing about it, and I'm glad. I'm real happy about that because I want to continue to make music, and I can only do that in this fashion. I mean, I can always write songs, but I can only make a living off of it if people actually buy the records. So we take it very seriously, and that's why every album is just as important as the last album, and every song is just as important as the next song. No song defeats another song. There's no let's put all the attention on a single and not care about the rest of the record. We are all killer, no filler.
I know for the past 5 years, the RIAA, they've been actively fighting piracy, and I know that they've sued individuals for downloading songs. Do you think that's the best way to go about doing it?
I don't know. It seems to work. It seems to have worked. You're gonna go. There's been some times I think I read a story where they sued some kid or something, but the kid I don't remember the specifics, but it was some enormous number of songs that he had pirated. Well, what do you expect to happen if it's still a kid had gone out and stolen a bunch of T-shirts or shoes or video games or something? Somebody's going to get in trouble. Just because it's music shouldn't lessen the offense, Again, what is that? Is it DRM? Is that what the technology is? That they're trying to lessen now. I'm glad to see that, because there's times when I want to share a song in my car, and I can't because it's limiting my access to it, and it's the song I bought, So I'm glad to see them lightening up on that a little bit. But I think that if people start responding to the anti-piracy issue and start buying records again, I think people, the industry itself will stop regulating it so much. I can't place the blame entirely on the fans. I know bands have been putting out crappy music and trying to sell a single. So they will have, 11 songs of garbage, things that don't belong on a record, things that would have never made a record in the past. But they think that they can sell, I'll put this on the radio and it'll sell. But so the fans have felt cheated in the past. But now there's other ways of doing it. There's MySpace music players where people are, bands upload their songs. You can listen to clips on iTunes and Amazon. So there's ways around it. And I think that, again, everybody should have a responsibility. Bands should have a responsibility to the music they make, and fans should have responsibilities to the bands they support.
Well, hey, Otep, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the interview. It was great. You made me think.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right, you too.